Here in Claremont, concerned about an ADU project on their cul-de-sac that'll bring a total of 12 units to a single-family lot.
A warning tonight from Scripps researchers studying bird flu. They say one single mutation in this virus could spark another pandemic.
We are finally hearing from a family member almost a year after a woman was found dead in a freezer in this Allied Gardens house.
From Disneyland dancer to registered nurse, how Jonathan Jennings found a new stage helping the sick and injured at age 37.
CBS 8 News live at 6 starts right now.
Tonight we're seeing video footage of a shootout in Little Italy that injured a harbor police officer and left a gunman dead. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Carlo Cicchetto.
I'm Marcella Lee. CBS 8's Richard Allen is here with the video that was released just a few hours ago and what led up to the shooting. And we do have a quick warning that the video released by Harbor Police may be disturbing for some of our viewers. Richard?
Well, that's right. We want to keep that in mind. Of course, we all remember this. Now, this took place 1 month ago today, and leading up to this, the suspect, 26-year-old Christopher Farrell, had shot and killed a married couple, Rachel Martinez and Jose Medina, inside their car outside the downtown courthouse on Union Street. Now, from that point, the search was on for Farrell, who was spotted about 40 minutes later, a mile away near Juniper and Kettner in Little Italy, where he had been hiding behind a utility box. Officers commanded Farrell to put down his weapon and show his hands, but he refused to comply. 1 minute and 13 seconds after officers first addressed Farrell, this happened.
Drop the gun! We're Harbor Police! Please just drop the gun. We need to talk about this.
And Farrell fired his gun several times as two Harbor Police officers returned fire. Farrell fell by that electrical box, still breathing at the time. Officers approached him using a ballistic shield since his weapon was still within reach. Now, Farrell was taken to the hospital where he later died from his injuries. Now, during the shootout, Harbor Police officer Patrick Lynch, who did not fire, was struck in the hip area. He was also taken to the hospital, but later released and was able to recover at home. Now, we later learned that the couple Farrell had fatally shot outside the courthouse had been granted temporary restraining orders against the couple, or against him, who Rachel Martinez had accused of domestic violence. Now, those orders, though, were never successfully served, and Martinez and Medina had actually been scheduled to appear in court that morning for their case against Farrell. Now, at this point, San Diego Police's homicide unit is carrying out the investigation into this officer-involved shooting. Once completed, the DA's office will review that investigation. And that investigation will also be closely monitored by both the U.S. Attorney's Office and the FBI. Now, we'll have much more on this story coming up on CBS 8 News at 11 p.m. Carlo and Marcella.
Thank you, Richard. New tonight, neighbors in Claremont are fighting back against an ADU project that would add 10 units to the backyard of a single-family home.
CBS 8's Brian White is live in Claremont tonight. He's working for you to find out if the developer is following the rules.
This is the property we're talking about right here on Shoshone Avenue. Now, the existing home will be remodeled and the garage converted into an attached ADU, and 10 additional units will be added to the backyard.
These people buy these properties, they show up, they start knocking things down and putting up these mega apartment complexes right in single-family homes.
Jerry Rapp and his neighbors are pushing back against this project on their cul-de-sac. They say parking will be a problem on their street.
It's super frustrating. You buy into a neighborhood, you've got these fantastic neighbors, and then we're going to get an apartment complex right here.
In October, their group, Neighbors for Claremont, filed a lawsuit against the developer, SDRE Homebuyers, the city of San Diego, for allowing it.
This is an expensive endeavor. It's $50,000 to $100,000 to fight these people in the city, and so the neighbors are chipping in.
I've shown you similar projects from this same developer, including this one on Firestone Street and this one on Almayo Avenue involving 17 accessory dwelling units. A couple months ago, I spoke with SDRE's attorney.
Everybody admits and agrees we have a housing crisis.
Skylar Hoffman, who grew up in Bay Park and Point Loma, showed me what these projects typically look like. One-bedroom units, 500 to 800 square feet. I pulled the permit for the current project on Shoshone. The backyard will end up holding 5 separate 2-story buildings.
It's NIMBY, right? It's not in my backyard. And everybody's fine with affordable housing, right? as long as it's not next door to me.
I checked. SDRE is allowed to do this through San Diego's ADU bonus program. They're allowed a bonus unit for every affordable one they build, and because there's a bus stop within a half mile, it's considered a transit priority area. That means no parking required.
It's coming all over San Diego unless we can get the city council to listen to their constituents and change these ridiculous bonus ADU laws.
As for the lawsuit they filed against SDRE and the city, Jerry tells me their first court hearing will be in May. Working for you in Claremont, Brian White, CBS 8.
Thanks, Brian. A warning from local fire officials tonight over what they say is a rise in lithium fire batteries.
They say those fires are often the result of using the wrong types of outlets or cords. Lithium batteries can also catch fire when they're damaged or exposed to heat. Fire officials say these types of fires can burn for days.
A little bit more toxic, harder to put out, and it comes with kind of an explosive potential that makes it really dangerous.
Lithium batteries can be found in so many common items these days, things like laptops and electric toothbrushes. And with the holidays, people will be getting more items like this as gifts. Fire officials also remind people that in California, all types of batteries need to be disposed of at a household hazardous waste transfer facility. Tonight, Scripps researchers are warning of another possible pandemic.
As they're seeing the avian flu jump from birds to cows, they say there's now a greater risk the virus could mutate and spread from person to person. CBS 8's Jenny Day reports.
When birds are sick with the bird flu, they kind of appear almost drunk and can even fall from the sky, dying rather quickly. So now Scripps researchers are saying even one single mutation could be enough to increase our chances of the virus attaching to human cells. Avian flu, bird flu, or scientifically known as H5N1.
The virus could not only transmit from human to human, but in addition, cause very severe illness.
Dr. James Paulson with the Scripps Research Institute is a professor in the Department of Immunology and Microbiology. While his research raises a red flag, he says there's no immediate cause for alarm.
Avian viruses have been the progenitors of all human pandemics. Even the last one in 2009, which came from pigs, that virus contained the avian genes.
So we've seen bird flu infect pigs, bats, most recently dairy cows, and humans as well, who have been in close contact with an infected animal. But there's growing concern the virus could mutate, allowing it to transmit from human to human.
The likelihood that a single mutation can happen in a virus is very high.
Most infections now are mild. Fever, cough, sore throat, and pink eye is common. But researchers say if the amino acids adapt and attach to human receptors, it could prompt another deadly pandemic.
That's, of course, what we worry about. We're always surprised by nature.
So if a cow is sick with the flu, is your steak safe? In short, yes, but health experts are warning not to drink raw milk. The Food and Drug Administration says pasteurized milk is safe, adding the virus becomes inactive during that process.
The virus is contaminating the machines that milk the cows, and then that's the source of infection from cow to cow to cow.
Researchers are monitoring it closely, but say if the virus adapts, it could spread just as easily as the regular flu, inhaling a droplet in the air or touching a dirty doorknob. Professor Paulson predicts the initial response would be increased access to drugs like Tamiflu, and he's certain Big Pharma is already working on a vaccine. So if you do have a sick or dead bird in your yard, be sure to use protective equipment when you remove it. Keep your dog or cat away from it as well. Reporting tonight from Kearney Mesa, Jenny Day, CBS 8.
Thanks, Jenny. The Sweetwater Authority in the South Bay says their water is safe to drink. This comes after one recent test found PFAS, also known as forever chemicals, in water treated from the Sweetwater Reservoir. These chemicals are found in things like nonstick cookware and waterproof clothing. The Sweetwater Authority says their water meets federal and state standards, and they will host meetings in the new year to provide more information. A family member is speaking out about an elderly woman found dead in a freezer 1 year ago in Allied Gardens.
She says the woman's husband suffered from dementia and couldn't remember how his wife ended up in the freezer.
CBS 8's David Grofferton talked to that relative who admits the family may never find the answers that they're looking for.
Frustrating that it's taken so long to get answers.
Wendy Edick is the stepdaughter of Mary Haxby Jones, a retired nurse who would have been age 81 at the time her body was found inside a freezer 1 year ago in a house she shared with her husband Robert on Zion Avenue in Allied Gardens. Police later said Haxby Jones could have been dead for up to 9 years.
It was a very upsetting day, the day her body was found. It was just completely shocking, and also to know that nobody had missed her.
Wendy admits she was estranged from her father, but she says both Robert and Mary were veterans and they had been married for decades.
He was a master welder. He was really, really good at it. So much so that he was a contractor with the military, and he fixed F-18s and F-16s on Coronado Island.
In December of last year, Robert suffered a stroke, leading family members to fly out here from Kentucky. That's when Wendy says a friend of her father's informed the family that Mary's body was in the backyard inside a freezer.
Part of me wants to write a book. Because when I tell people the story, they just can't believe everything that's happened.
An autopsy showed Mary's cause of death was undetermined. Detectives did investigate the possibility that the husband put Mary in the freezer so he could continue to collect her Social Security or VA benefits. But because police could not prove exactly when Mary died, no criminal charges were filed. Robert Haxby died in February, 2 months after his wife was found in the freezer. Wendy tells me police questioned her father about possible financial fraud, but because he suffered from dementia, he had no memory of putting his wife's body in the freezer.
That's all speculation. I mean, it's you can't prove it. He couldn't be tried for it, because he had dementia, so he legally couldn't defend himself, and then he died. So they just dropped everything.
A neighbor tells me nobody is living in the house right now, although there was a police call here just last week after a report of squatters living in the house. Right now, it seems completely vacant. In Allied Gardens, David Gottfredson, CBS 8.
Very strange story. Thanks, David. Coming up, we're getting a first look at the kit for San Diego's newest football club.
We'll give you a closer look and hear from the sporting director.
Plus, it's the time of year to get comfy and enjoy your favorite holiday movie. And guess what? Those movies could also offer some financial inspiration. We'll have details on that still ahead.
And a chilly day here in San Diego, and we actually did see a little bit of rain last night. Not a lot, a little. I'll have those numbers and tell you what your weekend's going to look like coming up in your microclimate forecast.